Growing up, power and control were the currencies I understood best. In my former life, I thrived in an environment where intimidation was a tool and respect was demanded rather than earned. I learned to navigate the complex, often dangerous dynamics of power and fear, and while my methods were far from noble, they gave me a deep understanding of human behavior, especially the nature of bullies. Today I stand here far removed from that world to share what I've learned about facing intimidation and standing against those who seek to dominate through fear. Bullying is a universal problem transcending age, culture, and circumstance. It is a behavior rooted in the need to feel superior by making others feel small. I have seen it play out in schoolyards, offices, and even within the ranks of powerful organizations. The tactics may vary, but the essence remains the same. A bully thrives on the weakness and silence of their target. They build their power on the foundation of fear, using it to manipulate and control. In my past, I was both a witness and a participant in these dynamics. I've seen the devastating effects of unchecked intimidation, the toll it takes on individuals, and the fractures it creates in communities. At the time, I thought fear was the most reliable tool for getting what I wanted. It took years of reflection, redemption, and a complete change of life for me to realize that true strength lies not in instilling fear, but in fostering respect and understanding. Bullying doesn't just harm its immediate victims, it corrodes the very fabric of our society. It creates a culture where fear replaces trust and vulnerability becomes a liability. But it doesn't have to be this way. There are ways to counter bullying effectively, and they don't require brute force or retaliation. Instead, they demand courage, confidence, and the willingness to stand up, not just for yourself, but for others as well. The lessons I've learned through my journey from shadows to redemption have given me unique insights into how to dismantle the power of a bully. My experience taught me that bullies are not invincible. They often mask deep insecurities with their aggression. Their strength lies in the fear they generate, and the first step to stopping them is understanding that this power is an illusion. Today, I want to share strategies that can help you navigate and neutralize bullying, whether you're the target or a bystander. These strategies are not about becoming a fighter or using intimidation in return. They're about using confidence, unity, and respect to create an environment where bullying cannot thrive. Together we can foster a culture that values strength not in its ability to overpower, but in its capacity to uplift and protect. It's a lesson I learned the hard way, but one I carry with me as a testament to the possibility of change. Bullying is not just an act of aggression, it's a complex psychological dynamic rooted in the need for power and control. To effectively address it, we must first understand the mindset and motives of the bully. During my past life, I dealt with people who wielded fear as a weapon, manipulating others to serve their interests. While I was once immersed in that world, I've since reflected deeply on what truly drives such behavior. This insight, though born in a dark place, has given me a unique perspective on the nature of bullying and how to dismantle it. At its core, bullying is about insecurity. The bully projects an image of strength and dominance, but this is often a mask for their internal fears and weaknesses. They seek validation by diminishing others because it temporarily makes them feel powerful and in control. Their behavior is not a reflection of the victim's worth, but of their own unresolved issues. Recognizing this truth is the first step to neutralizing a bully's power. Once you see their aggression for what it is, a facade, it becomes easier to stand your ground and strip away their control. In my experience, whether in the context of criminal operations or everyday life, the individuals who relied most heavily on intimidation were often the most vulnerable. They used fear to hide their own inadequacies, hoping to distract others from noticing their flaws. It's a survival tactic, a way to avoid confronting their own shortcomings by focusing the attention elsewhere. This isn't to excuse their behavior, but to understand. When you grasp what motivates a bully, you can begin to undermine their influence. However, understanding alone is not enough. You must also learn to identify a bully's patterns. Bullying is rarely random, it is strategic. Bullies often target individuals they perceive as weak or isolated because they believe these individuals are less likely to resist or seek support. This is why bullying thrives in environments where people feel alone or unsupported. It's not just about the victim being vulnerable, it's about the bully believing that their actions will go unchallenged. Changing this perception is crucial to stopping their behavior. One of the most critical lessons I learned in my former life is that fear is a currency that loses its value when people refuse to accept it. The same principle applies to bullying. A bully's power diminishes when their target refuses to be intimidated. This doesn't mean you have to be confrontational or aggressive in return. Often the most effective resistance is quiet confidence. A calm, assertive response can be more disarming than any verbal or physical retaliation. When a bully encounters someone who doesn't react as expected, someone who doesn't cower or retaliate, they are often thrown off balance. Of course, maintaining this kind of confidence in the face of aggression is easier said than done, especially for those who are naturally more reserved or anxious. That's why preparation is key. Practice assertiveness in your everyday interactions, even in low-stakes situations. This builds the muscle memory of standing firm and speaking clearly, making it easier to do so when the stakes are high. Remember, confidence doesn't mean shouting or posturing. It means knowing your worth and not allowing others to diminish it. Another critical aspect of dealing with bullies is to avoid playing into their hand. Bullies often provoke their targets, hoping to elicit an emotional reaction that they can exploit. They want to see anger, fear, or frustration because it validates their control. When you respond calmly and refuse to give them that satisfaction, you take away one of their main sources of power. This is something I saw repeatedly in my old world. Those who could maintain their composure, even under pressure, were often the ones who commanded the most respect. It's also important to understand that standing up to a bully doesn't always mean facing them directly. Sometimes the best way to confront a bully is to expose their behavior to others. Bullies often operate in the shadows, relying on secrecy or the silence of their victims to continue their actions. By bringing their behavior to light, you make it harder for them to maintain their facade of power. This doesn't mean seeking revenge or public humiliation. It means ensuring that others are aware of what's happening so the bully can be held accountable. In environments where bullying is pervasive, fostering a sense of community can be one of the most effective deterrents. Bullies thrive in isolation, targeting individuals who seem unsupported or disconnected. When people come together and support each other, it creates an environment where bullying cannot thrive. This is something I learned late in life, the power of unity. In my former world, loyalty and solidarity were prized, albeit for the wrong reasons. But the principle remains true. There is strength in numbers, and bullies are less likely to target those who are surrounded by allies. Lastly, it's essential to remember that dealing with a bully is not just about protecting yourself, but about changing the environment that enables such behavior. Addressing the root causes of bullying requires a collective effort, whether it's within a school, a workplace, or a community. This means fostering a culture of respect and understanding, where differences are celebrated rather than exploited. It means teaching people, especially the young, to value empathy and kindness over dominance and control. And it means standing together to ensure that no one has to face a bully alone. In my old life, I thought power was about making others fear me. It took years of reflection and change to realize that true power lies in respect, empathy, and the courage to stand up for what is right. These lessons forged in the harshest of environments are ones I now strive to share with others. Bullying may be a universal problem, but it is not an insurmountable one. With understanding, confidence, and unity, we can create a world where no one has to live in fear of a bully. Standing your ground against a bully is not just a test of physical or verbal strength. It's a challenge to your sense of self-worth and emotional resilience. When someone tries to intimidate you, they are testing the boundaries of your confidence, seeking to find cracks they can exploit. The process of resisting a bully requires an understanding of your inner strength and the ability to project that strength outward. From my experiences, both in a past life where intimidation was a daily tool and in my journey toward personal growth, I've learned that standing your ground is as much about attitude as it is about action. Bullies thrive on the assumption that their target will react predictably, with fear, submission, or anger. These reactions feed their power, giving them the satisfaction of control. However, when you respond in ways that defy their expectations, calmly, confidently, and without giving them the emotional response they seek, you shift the dynamic in your favor. This approach doesn't mean ignoring the bully or pretending their actions don't affect you. It means showing that you refuse to be dominated by their behavior. The first step in standing your ground is to recognize your own value. This may sound simple, but it's one of the hardest things to do when faced with someone actively trying to diminish you. In my old life, I often saw people crumble under pressure because they doubted their worth or felt isolated in their struggles. Bullies prey on these insecurities, and the only way to counter them is to build a strong foundation of self-esteem. This isn't about arrogance or overconfidence. It's about knowing who you are and refusing to let anyone else define your worth. Projecting confidence is another critical element of standing your ground. Confidence doesn't mean being loud or confrontational. It means being firm and self-assured in your responses. Speak clearly and calmly, maintaining eye contact when addressing the bully. Your tone should convey that you are not afraid, even if you feel nervous inside. This kind of composure can disarm a bully, making them question their assumptions about your vulnerability. In my past, I often underestimated people who didn't react expected. It taught me that true power isn't always in what you say, but in how you carry yourself. Avoiding escalation is equally important when dealing with a bully. Reacting aggressively, whether verbally or physically, can often backfire, giving the bully more ammunition to use against you. Instead, focus on de-escalating the situation without backing down. For example, you might calmly state, "I don't appreciate how you're speaking to me," or "This behavior is unacceptable." Statements like these assert your boundaries without resorting to insults or aggression. They also make it clear that you're not willing to engage in a power struggle on the bully's terms. Preparation plays a significant role in building the confidence needed to stand your ground. Practice how you'll respond to common bullying scenarios, either on your own or with a trusted friend. Rehearsing your words and actions can help you feel more prepared when the time comes to confront a bully. In my life, both past and present, preparation has always been the difference between success and failure. Anticipating challenges and knowing how to respond is a skill that can serve you in any situation, not just in dealing with bullies. Another key strategy is to maintain control over your emotions. Bullies often seek to provoke an emotional reaction, anger, frustration, or tears, because it gives them a sense of power. Learning to regulate your emotions under pressure takes practice, but it's a skill that can transform the way you handle confrontations. One technique is to focus on your breathing, taking slow, deep breaths to calm your nerves. Remind yourself that the bully's words or actions don't define you. They're a reflection of their own issues, not your value as a person. Standing your ground also means knowing when and how to seek support. While it's important to demonstrate independence and confidence, there's no shame in reaching out for help when needed. Bullies often target individuals who seem isolated because they believe these individuals are less likely to have allies. By building a network of supportive friends, family, or colleagues, you create a buffer that makes it harder for the bully to isolate and target you. In my past, alliances were often based on fear or mutual interest, but I've since learned that true support comes from genuine relationships built on trust and respect. Another powerful tool in standing your ground is to focus on solutions rather than problems. Instead of dwelling on the bully's actions or the pain they cause, shift your energy toward finding constructive ways to address the situation. This might involve documenting incidents to report them later, seeking mediation, or even working with others to create a safer environment for everyone. Taking proactive steps can give you a sense of control and purpose, counteracting the helplessness that bullying often induces. It's also worth mentioning that standing your ground doesn't always mean directly confronting the bully. Sometimes the best way to resist is to simply walk away. This isn't about running from the problem. It's about refusing to give the bully the attention they crave. By disengaging, you deny them the reaction they're looking for, which can often diffuse the situation. Knowing when to walk away and when to stand firm is a skill that comes with experience and self-awareness. Ultimately, standing your ground against a bully is about reclaiming your power. It's about showing that you won't be controlled by fear or intimidation, even in the face of aggression. This doesn't mean you won't feel scared or uncertain at times. Those feelings are natural. But it means choosing to act with courage despite those feelings. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision to move forward inspired. In my old life, I thought power came from making others submit to my will. I now understand that true power comes from within. It's the ability to stand firm in your beliefs, to treat others with respect even when they don't return the favor, and to remain true to yourself no matter the circumstances. These are lessons I've learned through experience and reflection, and they're lessons I hope to pass on to others. Standing your ground against a bully is never easy, but it is always worth it. By doing so, you not only protect yourself, but also set an example for others. You show that it's possible to resist intimidation and to maintain your dignity in the face of adversity. It's a lesson I've carried with me through every stage of my journey, and one I continue to live by every day. Building alliances and fostering a culture of respect are essential steps in creating an environment where bullying cannot thrive. Bullies often operate in spaces where they feel they can dominate without consequence, exploiting isolation and division among individuals. By forming strong relationships and promoting a culture of mutual respect, we can create a united front that makes it difficult for bullying to take root. In my former life, I witnessed firsthand the power of loyalty and camaraderie, although it was often used for the wrong purposes. Today I understand how those same principles can be applied positively to protect and uplift others. The first step to building alliances is recognizing the importance of connection. Bullies target individuals who seem disconnected or unsupported because they perceive them as easier to intimidate. When people feel isolated, they're more vulnerable to manipulation and less likely to stand up for themselves. This is why it's crucial to actively cultivate relationships with those around you, whether in a school, workplace, or community setting. These connections don't need to be deep or personal. Even a shared sense of camaraderie or mutual support can make a significant difference. Creating alliances starts with small, intentional actions. Reach out to those who might feel marginalized or overlooked. Simple gestures like asking someone how they're doing, inviting them to join a group activity, or standing by them in a moment of need can go a long way in building trust and solidarity. In my old world, loyalty was often a currency traded and demanded the guise of protection. While that loyalty was rooted in fear, it taught me an important lesson. When people feel they belong to something larger than themselves, they're more likely to stand strong together. Another critical aspect of fostering alliances is recognizing the shared humanity in others. It's easy to overlook the struggles people face when you're focused on your own challenges, but empathy is a powerful tool for building connections. When you take the time to understand someone's perspective, you create a bond that can withstand external pressures, including bullying. In my past, I often underestimated the strength of empathy, mistaking it for weakness. However, I've since learned that understanding and compassion are the foundations of true unity and strength. Alliances also depend on effective communication. Open and honest conversations help establish trust and ensure that everyone feels heard and valued. This is especially important in situations where bullying is a concern. By creating a space where people can speak freely about their experiences and concerns, you empower them to take action against bullying without fear of retaliation. In my former life, secrecy and silence were tools of control. Breaking those patterns through open dialogue is a powerful way to disrupt the dynamics that allow bullying to flourish. Fostering a culture of respect goes hand in hand with building alliances. Respect is the foundation of any healthy relationship or community, and it begins with how we treat each other in everyday interactions. It's about recognizing the inherent value of every person, regardless of their background, abilities, or circumstances. When respect becomes the norm, bullying becomes an anomaly, something that stands out and is addressed rather than tolerated. Promoting respect involves both leading by example and holding others accountable. People are more likely to adopt respectful behavior when they see it modeled consistently by those around them. This means treating everyone with dignity, even in moments of conflict or disagreement. It also means addressing disrespectful behavior when it arises, whether it's directed at you or someone else. In my old life, respect was often demanded but rarely given freely. I've since learned that true respect is earned through actions, not force or intimidation. An important part of fostering respect is teaching others, especially young people, about the value of diversity and inclusion. Bullies often exploit differences to isolate and demean their target. By creating an environment where differences are celebrated rather than feared, you remove one of the key tools bullies use to assert control. Education and awareness are powerful antidotes to ignorance and prejudice, and they play a crucial role in building culture where everyone feels valued and supported. One of the most effective ways to prevent bullying is to empower bystanders to take action. Many people witness bullying but remain silent because they fear becoming targets themselves or believe their intervention won't make a difference. By fostering a culture of respect and solidarity, you create an environment where bystanders feel confident standing up for others. This doesn't necessarily mean confronting the bully directly. It can be as simple as offering support to the victim or reporting the behavior to someone in authority. In my past, the power of collective action was undeniable, even when used for the wrong reasons. Harnessing that same power for good can create lasting change. Building alliances and promoting respect also require addressing systemic issues that enable bullying. This might involve advocating for policies or programs that promote inclusion, diversity, and conflict resolution in schools, workplaces, or communities. It might mean challenging cultural norms or stereotypes that perpetuate harmful behaviors. Systemic change takes time, but it's essential for creating an environment where bullying is no longer tolerated or accepted. Finally, it's important to recognize that building alliances and fostering respect is an ongoing process. Relationships require maintenance, and cultures of respect need continuous reinforcement. This means being vigilant and proactive, even when things seem to be going well. It also means being willing to learn and grow, acknowledging your own mistakes and making a commitment to do better. In my journey of redemption, I've learned that change is a constant effort, not a one-time event. The same applies to creating a world where bullying has no place. Ultimately, building alliances and fostering a culture of respect is about creating a sense of belonging and mutual support. It's about ensuring that no one feels alone or powerless in the face of adversity. In my old life, I thought strength came from domination and control. Today I know that true strength lies in unity, compassion, and the willingness to stand together against injustice. By forming strong connections and promoting respect, we can create a world where everyone feels safe, valued, and empowered. This is a vision worth striving for, and it starts with each of us. The fight against bullying is not just about addressing individual incidents, but transforming the environment in which such behavior thrives. It's about recognizing the underlying dynamics of power, fear, and insecurity, and finding ways to counteract them with confidence, unity, and respect. In my journey from a life of intimidation to one of reflection and redemption, I've come to see that bullying in all its forms is a distortion of strength. True strength does not seek to dominate or demean. It seeks to uplift and empower. This understanding forms the foundation for lasting change. When confronting bullying, we must start with ourselves. Building self-confidence and resilience is the first line of defense against those who seek to intimidate. By understanding our worth and refusing to let fear dictate our actions, we can begin to dismantle the power that bullies derive from our reactions. This isn't about ignoring the pain or pretending the problem doesn't exist. It's about facing it with the knowledge that we are stronger than we may realize. Confidence is contagious, and when one person stands tall, it inspires others to do the same. But standing up to bullying is not a solitary act. It requires the support of a community united by shared values of respect and empathy. Bullies thrive on isolation, targeting those who seem vulnerable and alone. By building alliances and fostering a culture of inclusion, we create an environment where bullying cannot flourish. This is a collective responsibility, and each of us has a role to play, whether it's offering support to a victim, challenging harmful behavior, or creating spaces where everyone feels safe and valued. Addressing bullying also means looking beyond the immediate interactions and tackling the systemic issues that allow it to persist. Whether in schools, workplaces, or communities, there are structures and norms that can perpetuate exclusion, fear, and prejudice. Changing these systems requires courage and commitment, but it's a necessary step toward a more equitable and compassionate world. Policies, education, and open dialogue all play a role in dismantling the frameworks that enable bullying. Perhaps most importantly, confronting bullying is about hope. The hope that things can change and that we can create a better future for ourselves and others. My past taught me that even the most entrenched patterns of behavior can be unlearned and replaced with something better. Redemption is possible, not just for individuals, but for entire communities. By choosing respect over fear, unity over division, and compassion over indifference, we take the first steps toward that transformation. In the end, the battle against bullying is a battle for humanity. It's about creating a world where no one is diminished, where differences are celebrated, and where strength is measured not by how much we can take from others, but by how much we can give. This journey is not without challenges, but it is one worth undertaking. Together with courage and determination, we can make bullying a relic of the past and pave the way for a brighter, more inclusive future.